Adventure of the Planets is a musical journey through the mysterious, magical, and majestic realm of outer space. Now, to successfully convey this to our audience, we have to go through a few technical hurdles. And we're going to work through these and my practice methods for them with you right now. The first challenge that we face is creating an elegant, steady, and quiet left-hand accompaniment. The left hand begins the piece on its own and then continues on underneath the right hand for the whole first section. This pattern exploits the fourth and the fifth fingers, which are the weaker fingers and don't really cooperate with us in terms of control and playing quickly and quietly. So we have to do a little bit of work to get them in shape. The ways that I want you to practice this is to start off with slow and conscientious practicing that just travels from note to note, finding a comfortable position for each finger with a slight adjustment of the hand. You'll notice a slight circular motion. At a higher rate of speed, it looks like this. You can see it's slightly clockwise. And here's the other pattern coming up in measure 9. So my hand is favoring the pinky finger by moving to the left and favoring the thumb by moving to the right. One of the challenges that the left hand also faces is moving down seamlessly at measure 20 to 21. So we're moving down exactly an octave, but we don't have any extra time to get there. You have to continue the pattern without creating a bump or a lump or a pause. So I would start off by practicing just the distance from the last note to the first note. Fourth finger on E, pinky on C sharp. Back and forth. Saving that to your internal file, maybe the last 2 notes, first note. Practicing your shift, then maybe the last 3 notes. Maybe adding a couple notes in the bottom. So we practice that direction shift. Eventually, having a seamless transition of those 2 measures. Our next challenge is the broken octave melody in the right hand. The pinky finger is what's going to be playing that note, and the pinky again is a weaker finger, so we have to do a little bit of extra work to prepare it for the solo, for the lead role. So I'm going to actually start off with a C major scale, and I'm going to play the grace note with my thumb and then emphasize the top note. I'm thinking like an Olympic gymnast trying to stick that landing nice and strong. A little bit of momentum as I lift the hand and then land. And then I can try it in a chromatic pattern, so I practice moving that on the black keys as well. This is especially challenging for smaller hands. Now that we have a strong top note, we want to make sure that we form it into a long and expressive melodic line. We don't want our melody to sound like we are walking in space. That doesn't really exist. We are floating and we are flying. So we don't want a very vertical approach. We want it to sound like we are floating and flying between those notes. After all, if I were to play without the octave, I could make it sound something like this. Perfectly legato and beautifully expressive. So I would encourage you to try that as well. You can even take it down an octave. How would you shape it if you only play the melody? Try to sound like a singer or a violinist. And then find that same sound using the octave as written. So I'm thinking of an 8-measure phrase. Moving on in the piece, we get to the brilliant comets streaking through the night at measure 37. These are quickly moving 30-second notes, and it requires a lot of dexterity and control. We want to hear all of the notes clearly. My tips for you are no collapsing fingers and shifting the hand to accommodate each pattern. Start off by just playing the first 2 notes of each pattern, because that's what is actually changing. And then we can add on the next 2 notes, which will remain the same between the positions. I'm giving myself 1 of each repetition just to get used to these 2 positions. And now I'm ready to practice some rhythmical variations so that I can work on that control and strength. I'm going to start off with 2 ways, long, short, and then short, long. And flipping it. Starting off by holding the first note. Then the second. Then the third. Finally, the fourth note. I would also practice this moving up the entire keyboard, and you could do that in rhythms as well. It would sound something like this. Moving our way up through each octave, and thus practicing those quick transition shifts that you will encounter in this section. The final challenge are our chromatic and whole tone scales. So they're pretty much the opposite of each other. A chromatic scale uses only half steps, and a whole tone scale uses only whole steps. The chromatic scale fingering is very, very important for you to be able to play it efficiently. So you're going to use your third finger on all the black keys, thumb on most of the white keys, but when you have a group of 2 white keys in a row at F, E, and C, B, you're using 2, 1. So 3, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3, 2, 1. And that allows for a very efficient manner of testing out the entire keyboard. Right? What makes this chromatic scale a little bit more challenging is that you're also playing it with the left hand. The left hand is playing every 4 notes of the right hand. So the right hand has to be very steady and very even for them to align. I would practice stopping on each left hand note. Familiarize yourself with that pattern, and then maybe stopping at the beginning of each measure. And once we get to the bottom, we do a quick turnaround, and we have the whole tone scale, which is using all whole steps, but it's being split between the hands, which is quite convenient and comfortable. For both of these scales, since they span so much of the keyboard, make sure that you're leaning to the right and leaning to the left. Even if you're a younger, smaller pianist, please don't scoot on the bench. Instead, ground down and lean to the right, lean to the left, engage your core, and it's going to be a lot more comfortable and convenient and efficient in your playing. So that's all I have for you for Adventure of the Planets, and I look forward to hearing your performance of it soon.